All right, hey mofos, welcome to episode 80 of Masters of the Forge. Yeah, so it's about time that we sat down and actually discussed some actual hobby topics. We've been a little lackadaisical lately, but that's fine. I've been sick, a lot sick, and we've just been so busy with the holidays. So I apologize for that.
That excuse only works for so many weeks in a row.
It's really true. And the tournament and everything. Blah. And this week, Jason actually had a family emergency that he had to attend to, but I made a command decision, and I was like,
see what you get for having a family.
Right? I know. No, I'm just kidding. I hope all is well over there. But I felt like the listeners have gone long enough without any kind of content from us, so I figured let's go ahead and record the show. And it's myself and who would I have with me? James.
All the star players have been KO'd, so let's call in the D list.
Yeah, we have to bring in the B list maybe. That's pretty.
The only reason we hired him is because the coach wanted to sleep with his mom.
Well, so today, what are you drinking today, James? So we're stealing this bit from another podcast, the NGC 40K podcast. So James, what's on tap today?
Right now I have in front of me a Hanalei Island IPA from Kona Beer.
Oh, very nice.
Pretty
Today
tasty.
I have about 2/3 of a bottle of Carol's mead.
Oh,
I'm
you win.
Pouring that right now.
I don't think I've ever had Carol's.
It is from, where's it from? Made and bottled, Proud Country Cellars in Washingtonville, New York.
Oh,
so
local,
it's a
nice.
local, and my buddy gave it to my wife for her birthday, but at one point, but it's been sitting in the refrigerator for probably a year. So
is it
yeah.
Is it carbonated?
No, it's fine.
No.
It's fine. Yeah,
do you
it's not
have PNC where you are, or is that
what's that?
The supermarket chain PNC, or are you
no? But we have
too far east.
We have other. Oh no, we don't have PNC. No, we have Price Chopper.
Oh, okay. Well, check and see if anybody, especially now that it's winter, check and see if anybody has mulling spices. Throw that in a pan with a couple of tablespoons of that. Like my go-to default for meat is Chaucer, and it comes with a little spice packet. But if you can get mulling spices, basically anything that has like cinnamon and cloves and everything in it, just warm. You'll never go back.
That sounds delightful. Well, James, I'm glad you're on this week, actually, because I was really hoping to have you on last week to talk about 1 hour a night and everything you have going on this year. We're a little bit late for folks to get their first commitment in, but why don't you kind of go, from the horse's mouth, go over what we have going on over at 1 hour a night this year?
Well, there's pretty much only one thing that's new. So the main thing that we've been doing since we started the monthly challenges is, I want to say exactly the same as it was last year, a little bit different, or from the second half of last year rather. So there'll be a pin post every month. Get a commitment in that post by the 15th, and then complete that commitment by the end of the month. I had one or two people say that like the wording was a bit confusing. The commitment has to be in by the 15th, but it doesn't need to be finished until the end of the month.
Right, yeah.
You just go in and comment your finished picture. So your commitment is a comment, and then as a reply to your own comment, you put the finished picture in there by the end of the month, and that'll go until December. And then,
well, we are all miniature war game nerds, so wording is truly everything.
Yeah, and then like every time you hear somebody like a TO at a tournament that writes their own scenarios or something, you hear them say, when you write something like that, you read it yourself, and you're like, there's no way anybody could read that any other way, and then 6 people read it and give you 6 different interpretations. Like, oh my god, what happened? So yeah, I've been fielding. Fielding questions like 3 or 4 a day, I want to say, since I posted that. And not to mention the people that don't automatically see the pin post because they're using it on their phone.
Oh, yeah, because you have to expand it. That is pretty annoying.
Yeah. But then the new hotness is the hobby intervention, which is
Hmm.
kind of similar to the cat in the corner, cat in a quarter that we
The
did the
cat in
last
the
2 years.
corner.
Yeah,
Has it been a bold cad?
half of it's bald. Um, so the hobby intervention is models that you already have. So a total of 100 quote unquote points. One
Hmm.
infantry model being 1 point. Anything analogous to a 40k vehicle being 5 points,
Hmm.
and anything analogous to a 40k super heavy being 10 points.
Hmm.
So we got 100 points, no more than a total of 50 points in non-infantry models. So you can
Hmm.
have up to 5 super heavies, 10 vehicles, whatnot. And then
Hmm.
that has to be submitted by email. Email address, again, in the document that is, again, in the pinned post. Um, and that has to be submitted by the end of January to that email address. And then the entire commitment of 100 dudes has to be finished by the end of Christmas Eve, Hawaii Standard Time.
Right, and I sent an email that I didn't actually tally up my points, James,
Hmm.
but I'm pretty sure that my commitment is more than 100 points.
Yeah, it's
My email was basically my entire Seraphon army, which is
more than
that's
that.
well over 100 infantry models plus a bunch of other guys. So pretty sure we're good to go there.
Yeah, I'm sure all of the listeners are familiar with Fight Club. The hobby intervention is just like Project Mayhem. You decide your own level of involvement. So there have been people that have tried to yeah, I don't want to say like I don't know what even the word is, but how about this? How many points could I do for this? And like just try to find the easiest way to get to 100 points. Where some people have been like, oh, here's 300 points, so I'm just gonna do all this. or
Yeah, if you have to squeak it in, you're probably doing it wrong.
yeah, the best one that I've had, I had to laugh at this one. One of the members asked me if each of the scouts on a land speeder storm could count as one infantry.
Oh,
like,
those are brutal though. If
like,
I were to look at that, I'm like, every time I go to make a battle wagon, I'm like, yeah, these gunners aren't going on here. We're we're
yeah.
we're gonna close the canopy on this pintle mount. That's for damn sure.
I read that. I was like, this guy's thinking we got a gamer right here. So yeah,
Fantastic.
but yeah, I also had a couple questions because the whole idea is to paint stuff you already have. So I've had a
Hmm.
couple people ask me saying they were going to get new models like in February, March, April, whatever. Or there was one guy that wanted to build new terrain during the year, and that's fine for the monthly commitments. But the purpose of the hobby intervention is junk you already have that's not painted.
Yeah, and it's like it's unreal. Like what I have, I'm just like, in it. I thanks to the individual who sent me the Seraphon, and thanks to myself for just getting into it last year. But like, it is going to be quite the task. I'm actually like not going my usual route with those. Usually I paint like very bright and very, I don't know, very non-realistic. I go for a more cartoony look with my paint. And this time though, it's going to be very very organic. These Seraphon are going to, I'm going with grays and browns and greens and getting very
Really?
very organic with them. Yeah, so I'm hoping that the paint scheme will be easy.
Because it
Cause I'm,
seems like you know reanimated Stardust kind of screams for an unnatural paint
oh,
paint
certainly.
choice.
Absolutely. I think with the story that I'm going for, it'll be more I'm going to move the story in the direction of somewhat different from the standard Seraphon army. So I think it'll be good. What have you been up to? I saw you posted a few things on 1 Hour a Night recently.
Yeah, just the last month or so for me has been Blood Bowl. I painted up the
Yeah.
orc team for the store, and I just finished a human team for myself.
Hmm. Well, that's cool.
But I gotta say, like the colors I chose, like red and like a gold and yellow, because I went to like when you play Blood Bowl, you have to have like a punny team name, right? It's you're not
Hmm.
just gonna make up something serious. So I went to
Okay.
FSU, so these are the Talabecland Knolls. So I painted them in the FSU colors. But because of my color choice, the human blitzers, like with the I don't know fin they have on the top of their helmet,
Mm-hmm.
two separate people have said like, "Oh my God, that looks so much like the Rocketeer," and then
Mm-hmm.
nobody gets the joke. That like this, the individual post was like, "Holy cow, that looks like the Rocketeer," and then my response to that was, "The Rocka who?" And then the response to that is like they just copy like the Rocketeer page from Wikipedia. And that's happened to me twice now. Like no, nobody gets my joke. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but that's like a direct quote from the movie.
Right. That's
Oh,
awesome, dude.
so
That's
sad.
funny. Well, I mean, you can't expect everyone to be cultured. Our first review ever on this podcast was that we expressed that you're not a true nerd if you don't like Firefly, and our first ever review on iTunes was a 2-star review that said Firefly is an objectively bad show.
Well, that guy either is an alien, has no sense of taste, or does not understand what the word objectively means.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
it's not a point of view that can be expressed objectively.
and or all three.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I've just been in terrain land for the past month. Well, also and being sick. I got sick again.
Mm.
Like the past 2 days, I've been out both ends, sick again. Apparently, my doctor said that actually happens. Like if you can catch a virus and give it to somebody else, and they can give it right back to you,
Just
and
slightly
you can get
changed.
it again. Just yeah. It's just like slightly modified
Oh,
by
this
their immune system.
the circle of
Or-
life, so beautiful.
Yeah, so it's awful. That was just the worst. So I've lost so much ground on my terrain for the tournament. I have to. I'm built right now. Today, I'm in the middle of building a overgrown. I bought $50 worth of
Spanish moss,
fish
is it?
tank. No,
Oh.
like fish tank. Plastic
Okay.
plants today, and I'm right now building the GW ruins, and those will be combined to form the overgrown jungle city.
Oh,
And that'll be
the
fun.
GW Ruins kit. No matter how many of those I put together, it's so timelessly amazing. I
Yeah,
really
you
wish
can
they
do
would
so much.
just expand it.
Me too. Yeah, it would be really nice to have some additional pieces that were like the Bastion. It's sized perfectly to incorporate the ruins, because the other couple weeks ago I finished up those Mechanicus terrain, and I was able to integrate the Bastion perfectly with those walls because it's exactly the same inches across as the walls are. Like you can do, I think it's 4 walls by 4 walls is the Bastion. I think either 3 by 3 or 4 by 4, but you can incorporate it perfectly, which is great.
And I love how the bastions themselves are actually quite modular as well. You can have like
Mhm.
a level 1 and a level 3 like attached together, and it looks like some kind of like fort.
Yep, a lot of people do that too.
Such a
lot of
good
people do
kit.
that. Yeah, so like this overgrown city is kind of something that I've wanted to do for myself forever. So it's nice. I'll just now that I'm just doing it for the store, so I can spend their money on it, and I don't. I can have the experience of having done it, and
There you go.
if I feel like doing it myself, I already have the experience. Games Workshop decided to send us some more prize support. They gave us like 800 more bucks in prize support for the GT,
Oh, holy
which,
cow.
yeah, shout out to them. Thank you, GW. That was really nice. Other than that, I've just been reading for this episode because, like I said, when I was sick, I just didn't want to. When you're nauseous, the last thing you want to do is read.
Yeah.
So, like, I've just not been able to finish it. So I actually finished reading for this episode yesterday. Yeah, this is brutal. So, yeah, I've been doing that and working on the logistics for the tournament. So, punching up our missions, dealing with registration, doing handouts, and figuring out the tables and everything like that. So,
Yeah, it's such a mammoth task.
oh, it's a lot of work. So much. Hold on, I need to pour some
And
more.
the only thing
There
I've
you go.
organized like that, we had I want to say 8-person like tiny little tournament here last summer. I can't imagine trying to do it for a full GT.
Oh yeah, it's crazy, and I was hoping to get more. We're in the 30s now of attendance, so that I feel really good about that. I'm hoping next year we'll get even more though.
Hmm.
But I think 15 minutes of Holly Progress is good enough for everybody. Why don't we move on to the bulk of the episode where we're talking about books 6, 7, and 8 of The Beast Arises. We're gonna run. We're not gonna make it a 3-hour episode though. We're gonna try to get through it in an hour, or an hour and a half or so, and what we think about the series so far. So we'll have a commercial and we'll be right back.
Transmission incoming from the Adeptus Terra podcast. A new monthly UK-based 40K podcast has come into the universe, based around the hobby as a whole and the rich background of the 41st millennium. If you're looking for a fun, chilled-out podcast focusing on the fluff of the 41st millennium with tricks and tips on taking part in the hobby, then why not give us a listen? You can find us on iTunes and Facebook as the Adeptus Terra podcast. You never know, you might just like it. Message ends.
Welcome back. I've got a full glass of Carol's, and I think I'm ready to. Do you have a fresh beer, James?
No, I'm still about halfway through my first one, so I'm
still
good.
Halfway through. So who's the alcoholic here? I finished a glass already. Sorry.
We'll just go through to the part where the Emperor wakes up, and then I'll go get another beer.
All right, so the first book is Echoes of the Long War by David Geimer. Did you have the audiobook? Do you actually know how to pronounce his name?
I think it's pronounced the Guyver.
Oh, David the Guyver?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's pretty cool. He's pretty rad.
He has actual elbow blades in real life, so.
Nice. I actually really liked his writing style. I thought it was really good. It's something I can actually read and enjoy the way he writes his prose.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first book from him that I have read, so I was unsure how I was going to like it, but it was pretty good.
I want to say me too. I can't think of anything else of his off the top of my head. Has he done?
Yeah.
I think he's done maybe one of the AOS books, but
the book is largely regarding finding out more information about the orcs and how they're operating. Wouldn't you say? This one is the book where we find out that the orcs have been using humans as slaves and using them as food and a military force as well. This is the one where we start to see hints of psyker activity and stuff like that.
Yeah, I liked how this one kind of reset the pace a bit, because it was relentless pretty much up until this point. And then here we kind of have a little bit of exposition almost.
Yeah.
Okay, it's almost like setting up for the final run.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's why I like this book a little more. So it starts off with First Captain Zebrin of the Fists Exemplar, and I think this is kind of a Fists Exemplar series, and he's very Fists Exemplary. He resisted. He resisted the formation of the last wall. He really doesn't like the idea of some of the Battle Brothers being pulled into the Imperial Fists. He actually has a couple guys who refused, and he respects them for having refused, which I thought that was really interesting. And that kind of goes into the path that he takes in this book, which is hinted at in the title, Echoes of the Long War. He's stuck.
Yeah,
he's stuck kind of hanging out, right?
You get the Dornish stubbornness coming through.
Oh yeah, yep, definitely. And he's kind of caught in this system, the Vandus system, fighting alongside the Iron Warriors.
I want to say
Kalkator.
Wasn't he resisted quite a few of the commands that Magneric gave him too, though, yeah?
Oh, yeah, well, Magneric's first of all, Magneric sends a secret message. We still don't know what that message is.
Mm-hmm.
Magnarek pretty much immolates himself and his entire ship by... He saves everybody. Magnarek smashes his own ship into the orc ship, into this giant orc ship that's shooting warp energy at everybody. Gravity waves, and there's weird boy towers on it and everything. And he sacrifices himself to save everyone else, but he sends a message to one of the Black Templar ships, and not to anybody else. And it was Magnarek who was working with Calcator, of all people, and they were battle brothers from ages ago, and so there's a little bit of funny stuff going on there. But Calcator, he suggests that they rendezvous at one of their old fortresses, right?
Yeah, for refitting and resupply.
And Zebrin goes along with it. That was a little surprising to me, but I guess when you have no other options left,
that's a cool little glimpse into the like how the Chaos warbands function at this point too. It's like they don't, they might have some stuff in the warp, but they don't have like Manufactorum worlds, so they have these caches that they've like squirreled away on dead planets since the time of the heresy. It's like, oh, that's just a dead, barren desert ball of a world, and then just show up and like, hey, there's a Thunderhawk down here and a whole bunch of bullets.
Yeah, and I think maybe I'm trying to think of what would get Zebrin to make that decision to go along with it. The only thing I can think of is there was one part where Calcator says to him that he's been around for a really long time, and he can't imagine the kind of loss that he feels having lost someone like Magnarek. Like he actually tells him, you think that your side of that conflict holds the lion's share of regret and sadness over the loss of what they had, right? And losing Magnarek was like that for him.
Yeah, because even when Magnarek and Calcator are talking in the previous book, Calcator doesn't like hate him. I mean, Magnarek is obviously frothing at the mouth like mad Black Templar nonsense, but Calcator's like, all you gotta do is, extend your hand, we can be buds again. Like, I don't, there's no hate, I only got love.
Right, exactly. So, at this point, we lose the Alcazar Remembered. Was it the Thane's ship, the chapter master of the Fifth Exemplar?
Yeah,
we don't know if it survived the orc ship becoming a giant freaking black hole in space.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess the battle moves on to the Prax system, like we were saying, where all these orc ships are kind of just floating around, not worried about whoever's there. The giant yellow moons on the ships, kind of giving it away to the any reader who knows about orcs that these are the bad moons, and the bad moons are the trade.
They got all the teeth.
Yeah, they got the teeth, and it's funny later on they talk about how the orcs are trading with these enameled currency. yeah, and you're not kidding.
So the Prax system, was that where they were waiting for them at the drop point?
That's where Zebrin and Calcator met after leaving the Vanda system, because to resupply and to repair. Okay. And all of a sudden they go there to find it has been overrun by orcs.
Yeah, they get attacked pretty much as soon as they
Yeah, well, no, they when they come back, they're not attacked. They're surprised. They come within like, spitting distance of an orc vessel, and the orc vessel doesn't pay attention to them because the orc vessel has no guns. It has anti like fighter guns, but that's it. And they find out that most of the ships in this sector have no combat ability whatsoever, and
vessels.
They are just a bunch of orc merchant vessels. And I was wondering, what do you think, James? Do you think that this is the way that orcs were always, or do you think that, and because we're familiar with this kind of behavior now, with the bad moons and stuff like that, that's how they're described in the current orc codex, or do you think that hierarchy came about because of this beast situation?
Yeah, I think having specifically mentioning that orc ships don't have any weapons is a specific an actual specific choice by the author to show how alien these orcs are to the orcs that we're used to. I think this is more about the beast than just them never having seen it before.
Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, the Prax is kind of this orc ministratum system, and when they land, they decide, okay, we'll take one squad, you take one squad, in 2 different transports, and we'll go down as a joint force. Later on, we find out that Calcator has taken way more than a squad, and he said, "Well, what is it? The codex, your Codex Astartes says when your enemy whatever your enemy brings, bring twice as much, right? So, taking a page out of your own book." And Zebrin has to give it. Well, yeah, I guess you're right. I guess that's true.
Sorry, my phone auto-corrected squad into great company.
Right. So, yeah, so this is kind of where they have that conversation. Do you think your Imperium is the sole proprietor of a finite store of grief? It's like, we have feelings too, even though we're chaos.
Yeah, this is kind of the beginning of the downward spiral. Just because when Magneric is talking to him, you get this real sense of unease, like they're talking, and then at this point, these two are just having a conversation, and it's like, yeah, this goes on.
Yep. So, we find where we find out that this is a giant agricultural center for the orcs. By agricultural, we mean people, but the people are like animals. Like, they've been living like this for a while, right? Like, we see one human walking around with like a bucket of slop, and all the humans don't have their teeth or fingernails to avoid them hurting each other, and they'll open their mouths, like eagerly opening their mouths for the food, when it's just this bucket of horrible slop, and all the humans are fat and well fed, and it is the grossest.
Ugh.
It is like the grossest.
Might have to.
And everybody
might have to sign up for a PETA membership now.
And they all have the snake emblazoned on them, which is a symbol of the snake bites. And the snake bites, in current 40k lore, are the faction that deals with this kind of thing. Like, all the best runt herds are snake bites and stuff like that.
Hunters.
Yeah, they're the hunters and everything like that. Yeah.
Gargantuan squigoths.
Yes. Exactly. That is exactly true. They do get attacked at this point by the snake bites, and there's they're very brutal and very
low tech.
Low tech, which snake bites are. Rioch, Reoch, whatever. The apothecary gets shot directly in the head. Then he gets up and throws a grenade at somebody. That was awesome. That was a great moment.
Thank God I'm not a space wolf.
So, yeah, they're able to leave with 2 human subjects, but it's at this point where we have to start selling models, folks.
Mhm.
Let's do this. They meet up with some, what do you call them?
Gorkanauts and Morkanauts?
No,
Or that's later on.
the Militarum Tempestus guys.
Oh, the Scions.
The Scions, yes. They meet up with some Scions who are super badass. Apparently, they've been on the planet for a while on a super secret mission, doing badass space orphan type things. And so they meet up with those guys, and they're super impressed. And they continue fighting these guys for a while, and they end up going to the city center of Prax, and that's where they see kind of the Bad Moons exchanging teeth for goods. I love the train ride. Like, they literally prop up a dead orc in the cupola.
Just go through the stops.
Go through the stops. I kept half like waiting for somebody to like to like have a stick attached to the orc's arm so he could wave.
Because that's the thing. Like they're all in the cars, right? They got their bolt guns and like a grenade in their hand. Like, this is never gonna work. This is never gonna work. And then like the one veteran's like, "Come on, they're orcs. This is gonna work. This is so gonna work.
This is gonna work." Yeah. And they make it all the way to the terminus, and yeah, the train's engine explodes, and they kill all the Goths, and one of the Scions says, "Whatever you do, always kill the guys with the red axes on their clothes first, because those guys know what they're doing." And it's the blood axes, which we know are the orcs who tend to be more militaristic and actually use tactics.
More advanced weaponry.
Yeah, kill those guys first. So they kill those guys, then they get to killing Goths, and they're chased throughout this city. I'm not going to belabor the point. I mean, it's a big fight scene, right? Was there anything really that you thought was cool about this fight scene? The series of fight scenes as they're fighting through the city?
I thought it was nice that they gave each of the individual clans some play. They seem to have taken the time to point out the differences, whereas most 40K you don't really get that. Like, they'll just comment like, "Oh yeah, all the orcs were blue," but here you get a little bit of the nuance in them.
Right, you're right, because we had Speed Freaks were definitely involved, and he actually took the time to say, okay, these guys with the black and white checks, those are the Goths, and the red, the blood axes, and they all fought differently. I think you're right. I thought that was really cool, and the savagery of the snake bites, awesome. There was one part in this scene where Calcator flips a 16-wheeler. I thought that was fantastic. Bunch of orcs, bunch of Gretchen on top of a 16-wheeler, and Calcator's like, "Oh, okay," and he picks it up and flips it. So Space Marines, that's what Strength 4 gets you.
Yeah, sometimes you forget that Space Marines are not just slightly stronger than humans.
They are super duper lots stronger. Yeah, they're running through this place with like bins full of rendered fat from human fat that they're using for oil, and human skins being used for clothing and armor. Fantastic. Apparently human skin gives you a 6+ armor save. Good for you.
Sure, I'll allow it.
They fight a bunch of human warriors with blood axe symbols on them. Again, kind of referring to what we know about that clan and how they operate. They enslaving humans as diggas, which I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of that in this series. Like being bullied into it or just going over willingly. Like, whatever comes along, like whatever's strongest at that time. Like, okay, I'm in.
At the end of this big, long, huge fight, a humongous orc with beautifully crafted armor steps up to the commander here and says, "You die now." And they fight, and he knocks him through a door, and they're trying to get this door closed, right? And his leg gets closed in the door, and one of the Scions has to grab his chainsword and chop a Space Marine's leg off. He can't even make it through the leg though. He's like sawing. He's like, sorry. So the one of the Space Marines has to help him chop the dude's leg off in order to get the door closed.
You seen the Evil Dead remake?
No, I haven't.
There you go. There's some homework for you.
All right. So, you know, we get to the point where the Space Marines get to a door. Calcator has gone ahead, like the Zebrin has, you know, said, "All right, you go ahead and get to the fortress. We'll hold them off or whatever." And so apparently Calcator's already gone through this adamantium door, and it's been closed behind him. But you can't blame him, right? Like, there's a billion orcs. Why would you leave the door open?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a gene scanner, and they're like, well, I wonder if, you know, if it's from before the heresy, maybe it'll let us through, even though it's Iron Warriors.
Might just recognize me.
Yeah. So it's great. It says it recognizes them as the son of my brother, and it's the voice of It doesn't say it's the voice of Perturabo, but it's probably the voice of Perturabo. And they're all kind of, there's a little bit of like weird nostalgia at that for the group.
Just close that gap a little bit more.
And they go down into the, like, it's fast too. Like the elevator, when it gets to the bottom, all the humans are thrown to the ground. They're bruised and battered just from the elevator ride. Clearly not meant for human use. And we see a giant spherical room with a huge tank of heavy water, which clues them into what is going on down here. But they reveal it pretty quickly that Calcator is about to blow the planet up. There's like a torpedo that can be shot into the space between the mantle and the core, which, you know, it's a great description. Like if you shot it into the core, it would just render the core inert and make the planet unlivable. Or if you did it like higher than that, it would just blast away part of the crust. No, this part of the mantle, between the mantle and the core, will break the planet up into pieces and destroy it completely.
And how Iron Warrior is it that this was built into their fortress?
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you're gonna take my fortress, then I'm gonna wreck the toys so you can't play with them.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, they talk about it, and Zebrin balks at first, but he realizes that Calcator is right. If they destroy this planet, you will hamper the orcs in ways that you wouldn't otherwise be able to, because they're fueling a massive war effort with the food on this planet. Like, thousands and thousands of ships are coming and leaving and everything, and Calcator's like, we'll just destroy it. Yes, there are people living on this planet, but we're talking about the entire galaxy at risk here.
Yeah, it's kind of odd putting this is really reverse footing to what we're used to. Normally, the logistics for the orcs are never considered. Like, you never hear about orcs running out of food or something like that. So the fact that we have like Space Marines invading to mess up with the orc war effort is pretty refreshing, interesting. Yeah,
it is interesting, and you know, you look at like, there's a couple of things here. It's the scale of the orc assault. Like, there's no way that any organized attack of this kind would be possible without a major supply line, and that goes for orcs too. It's a lot of the time orcs, they eat the planet and then they move on. They eat the planet, they move on, kind of like the Tyranids. But for a concentrated, organized attack like this, you need supply lines. And it shows how the orc society has developed. And this is reflected similarly in the last book we just read, book 8, where, I mean, we'll talk about it in a little bit, but a similar decision was made to win a battle, to destroy their supplies. It's true here too, and Zebrin has to agree. He's like, you're right. You know, I guess at this point, the decision to exterminatus a planet is not as common as it is in the 41st millennium. I don't know. What do you think? Like, it seems like that to me, dude, because in the 41st millennium, everything is turning to crap. Everything is falling apart. And a lot of the time, the only option you have, because your resources are so thin, is to destroy a planet. And it seems like this is a very grave thing to decide to do.
Yeah, I think also the fact that this is a fortress left over from pre-heresy times, that makes it a little bit more, it gives it a bit more gravitas. So, you know, you're destroying a piece of history, not just a world.
Right, and Bryce, the Scion, the commander of the Scions, actually draws on them. He draws on two Space Marine captains, basically, or a Space Marine captain and what amounts to a Space Marine chapter master. Oh, and also, did you get that part too? Do you remember that part? Calcator actually pulls rank on him. He's like, "Well, I am a forge master, so I'm technically the level of a chapter master, so I outrank you in this situation."
I lead a grand company, son. We're not talking 100 Space Marines here. No, they did do a good job of pointing out that the Scions didn't know who they were with.
Mm-hmm.
So like they weren't really going down the rabbit hole. They just had no idea.
Stuff goes bad. Like he draws on them and he ends up dead, and all the Scions end up dead. And Zebrin is like, "Oh, now I'm a party to this." There's no turning back now, though, and Calcator knows it too. He's like, "Yeah, what are you gonna do now? I guess we're gonna destroy this planet and leave, aren't we?" So the world they give the order to do it, and Zebrin actually gives the order to destroy the Penitents, which I believe, if I recall, is the other Scion, Valkyrie or Vendetta gunship. He tells the rest of the Fifth Exemplar that they've been commandeered by heretics and or by renegade humans, and to destroy them on sight. Which that is a bridge a bit too far, I think.
Yeah, they weren't. It's not like they were pointing guns at him at the time. So.
Mm-hmm. As they're watching the planet break apart later, Zebrin says, "We will be held account for every life we destroyed here today." And Calcator says, "Not destroyed, little cousin, sacrificed." And I thought that was interesting. They've been, they don't call them brother. They don't call each other brother, and they've been kind of snipping at each other, calling each other cousin the entire book. And at first it starts out as spiteful, like cousin. Like, by the way, I'm not calling you cousin. I'm calling you not brother. Yeah. And it's kind of but slowly it becomes more and more of a.
It begins to take on the actual familial tone, and not, just pejorative.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. And then this comes up later in the next book. We have a brief stint with them where they actually are discussing something, and we'll get to that when we get to it, but where he actually calls him brother.
Yeah, which this is the genius of using the Iron Warriors for this, because they're one of the ones that they fight for chaos, obviously, but they don't worship chaos. Like, could you imagine trying to have these scenes with, like, Emperor's Children or World Eaters or something?
No,
like,
you couldn't.
Yeah,
you couldn't. You're absolutely right.
I mean, the Iron Warriors are definitely the best, almost the only choice one could say, because like, even the other non-chaos worshipping legions, like, you're gonna have a
Night Lord, crazy.
Like, they're using their skin for armor. I have not done that myself at all. Like, hide the cloak real quick.
And this was a little bit before, like, we don't see anybody with full on curse what is it, the Curse of Iron or whatever, where I forget the name of it, but the Obliterator curse or anything like that. Yeah. So Calcator did have some kind of
Obliterator virus. So it's called.
Yeah. He had a little issue with his arm, but he chopped his own arm off to avoid. Right quick. Yeah. So I guess we'll leave them there. We'll move on to Mars. There's a very short stint on Mars in this book, with Urquidex, who is working with Van Auken to triangulate the location of the origin of the orcs. They're using gene mapping for this. We do this. Humans do this now. We use our genetic code. You can get somebody's genetic code and find out where their ancestors are from, tracing all the way back to Africa, by looking at their genes.
So now, when you have all those like really really white friends that are like, "Oh, I'm 1/16 Native American," like, no, you're not. Stop it.
My grandma was a Native American princess. Like, sure she was. Yeah. So it's really cool how, but they've taken DNA from all over the galaxy, and they're trying to find out, matching it with DNA from other orc samples they've collected to find out the origin location of the orcs.
This is really setting us up for the dun 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 moment.
Dun 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 moment later, yes. But Yendel comes in and murders the Skitarii guard that's been posted next to Urquidex. She's like, we gotta bounce. Stuff's going down. So they run, and they're eventually caught before they can transmit the location of the orcs. Yendel dies, but she kills so many people. She goes down in a blaze of glory.
Yeah, she finally pulls out some weapons. This is the first time we get to see her.
Yeah, she murders all kinds of Skitarii. And Urquidex is taken, and Van Auken is looking forward to dismantling him and pulling him apart. But he does manage to start a message to Vangrich telling him, keep you in suspense a little while. Meanwhile on Terra, Veritas and Venand have installed themselves as co-members of the Inquisition. So they're working together, and that pisses everybody off, right?
Yep.
The Vangrich notes all of his. He's kind of got. He knows he has people watching him at all times, but he goes over all his clear plots to assassinate all the High Lords, which is, I find, very amusing. He wants to kill Cubic himself, just to say he wants to know what it's like to kill a member of the Mechanicus.
The ones that he thinks are being the most they have the most egregious violations against the Imperium. Like, he wants to do them with his own hand. Like,
mm-hmm. we this is where we find out that Beast Cruel is pretty much always in disguise as one of these Senatorum lackeys.
mm-hmm.
And he easily hides himself. This is his giant form. He's basically hiding himself under this cloak the entire time, serving all the nobles. Like, he could literally kill anyone whenever he wants to.
Could you imagine, like, those meetings, though? You, like, bump into some guy, you just think he's a guy in a robe, but it's, like, actually 400 pounds of muscle. Like,
mm-hmm. So Vangrich is sitting in Veritas's quarters, doing all his work in Veritas's quarters because it's the most safe place in the city, and with much to the surprise of Veritas when he shows up.
Unless the Grand Master of Assassins is in there. Touching on Venand and Veritas, though, mm-hmm. This is like really good historical parallels written into the writing. Like you have all of these tenets that are sacrosanct and
Hmm.
absolutely immutable. And then as soon as you realize one of them goes, everything else can go. So the fact that the
Yeah.
Inquisition's like, oh, there's two of us now, and everybody's like, wait, no, what? And then it's just like, okay, well, I guess that's how it is now. Like literally everything is on the table at this point. Like,
Right. Exactly. Exactly. The case in point, Udo makes a motion to unseat the Inquisition
mm,
from the 12. And Mesering and some of the others voted yes, but it didn't pass. But like as you say, like, well, if this can change, let's start changing all kinds of other stuff.
yeah, yeah, you
Um,
got somebody in the council saying like, "Oh, this isn't the way it's done. We can't do this," and then you just ignore
mhm.
that person and you keep doing it. Like, oh, or what are you gonna do now?
Right? Yeah. Um, there's an interesting part in this area where Mesering gives a prayer right before the meeting, and it's like
It was the type of like, is anybody paying attention to my prayers? Like you kind of listen to him, like, wait, what did he say? I don't think that's official.
he says "bestia qui in sapientia," so which I believe loosely translate to the beast in humanity, or the animal in humanity, or something like that. And he gives this weird prayer. It's like "Benedictat serviamus in regiens et nos iterum, Ave veritas est." Like I think he's kind of talking about the emperor, but he's also got this angle where it ties to the beast. And remember from the previous book where he's starting to wonder if he should find another stronger god to worship.
Yeah, the Emperor's not answering my prayers and didn't protect me from those
Hmm.
dirty Inquisitors. Then maybe I need to go somewhere else.
So this is the weird kind of thing that I think is going on. Like this is getting way worse, and Corland is when he hears it, he's like, "That's a little weird. That doesn't sound quite right. Oh well, I'll worry about it later." I have a feeling the next book or two there's going to be a problem involving that, especially considering some of the stuff we've seen in in regards to the humans becoming orc-like on these other
No,
planets.
no spoilers, but it's so satisfying.
Good. So we slowly come to this point where uh, fast forward to Vangerich talking to Corland and saying, "Listen, this is not working. We have some serious problems. Maybe you should be the Lord Commander."
Gotta plant that seed.
And gotta plant that seed. And lo and behold, three Land Raiders and a Land Raider Achilles drive up Praetorian Way, park out front of the Senatorum Imperialis, and they walk up. Corlin makes his move. And I'm really surprised, at first, I'm really surprised how quickly a few of the High Lords react to back him. However, who's not there? Vangerich.
Yeah,
Vangerich is not at this meeting.
I think
Nowhere to be. Okay, he's probably there, but he's nowhere to be seen, right?
I think that's
And
on purpose on his part for sure.
yes,
Is
absolutely.
he was the obvious strongest backer, so to take him out of the equation, like you can't really blame him.
Uh
You
huh.
can't accuse him of trying to engineer a power grab through Corland if he's not even there.
Yup.
And then
You're absolutely right.
everybody else that backed him immediately, I would just put that down to political calculation. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's Udo, which has basically very little power at this point because everybody that's backing him is totally screwed, like Lansing and everything. Or you have a Space Marine, like I know who I'm gonna throw my towel in with.
Yup. Exactly. And I believe that Vangerich has been kind of planting little seeds of this thought into these other High Lords as well. And so like Mesering and Udo and a couple of the others are really taken aback. But like Zek, who is the leader of the military, he's in charge of the Astra Militarum and all that. So only when Udo orders the Lucifer Blacks to apprehend Corlin, Lucifer Blacks are like, no, we're actually going to kneel before our new Lord Commander and escort you out of here. And Corlin gives him the opportunity to back down, but are you really going to back down? Probably not.
No, not if you're the Lord Gilliman.
No, you are the Lord Gilliman. So, yep. So that happens, for better or for worse. I wonder if I'm surprised he didn't say something like to the effect of, well, when this danger has passed, I'll step down. No, he just is the Lord Commander. So, okay. So
it sets him up as the good type of leader, though. You always want the guy that doesn't want the job, historically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you kind of do. You're right. But also many bad military coups have started with that thought and continued for decades under, very militaristic, single leadership, especially South America, places like that, Middle East.
But all those things, they always start with the best intentions. And
yeah, absolutely.
I'm reading a couple other sci-fi books right now, and it's all a lot of the similar stories.
Well, yeah, and a lot of.
And by other sci-fi books,
you'll notice
current events in the United States.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of sci-fi, it has a lot of those authors are history buffs, and they're very interested in communicating their opinion through speculative fiction.
Yeah.
So it's more palatable to the reader and may make the reader think a certain way. I mean, Starship Troopers that's what that book was, But yeah, and the Alcazar Remembered arrives in the system, which is what's his name? Whose ship is that? Thane. Which is Thane's ship. And this is just after Corlin receives word from Vangarich that the location of the beast has been found, but we don't know yet because the Magus is being held prisoner. So they are redirected to Mars for quote-unquote repairs.
Yeah, this seems like another one of those things that just completely didn't need to happen. Like, all of the High Lords are such tools. Like, we got to keep this information to ourselves. Like, it almost seems like they're being written kind of over the top, self-serving in a stupid way. Like, at this point, you can't see that everybody needs to work together. Like,
right. Yeah. And I don't actually, this is the book 7, The Hunt for Vulcan, should have been called The Fight for Vulcan. Also should have been called The Fight That Never Ends. And it is my least favorite David Annandale book so far, which is something to say because I've loved every one of his other books. And it's just like a lot of fighting, right? Which I guess you should enjoy things for what they are and not complain too much when you get what you pay for. I guess. Like, yeah, this is a spaceship and space alien fighting each other's story.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be upset when space aliens and spaceship people fight each other.
It has Vulcan in the title. If you got green armor and a hammer, you're not getting your money back.
Yeah. So I mean, okay, so I can't complain too much, but it is a big long fight scene. It really is, and I don't want to get too much into it. We've all supposedly read the books at this point. Is there anything that you thought really stood out from this book that you really enjoyed thematically?
I don't know if I would say enjoyed as much as I was intrigued by how Vulcan refused contact with the salamanders.
Mm,
Like that,
that was really cool.
yeah, like in turns, I was like, oh, that's kind of, dickish, but then, like, yeah, I completely understand that. Like, if there were a group of dudes that worshipped you as a god, like, you wouldn't want, it's like when celebrities go someplace incognito, right? You don't want to be
Hmm.
hounded and adored every time you need to do something.
Hmm.
Oh, I thought that was interesting. Like, no, I'm gonna hang out over here with these, Imperial Fist rejects and just completely ignore my own legion.
Right. And I kind of liked how, going back to your point, David Annandale, in this book, he said, okay, it's time to rein in the whole Mars first cubic thing. And he kind of has a change of heart in regards to, he sees his secrecy up to this point as a error in judgment. And it bothers him that he made this error. And but he still lies and says the idea of the weapon was to teleport the moons away from the systems and hopefully destroy them in the process, when in fact the idea was to move Mars to a safe location.
Yeah, it's good they portrayed Kubik as the scientist he is, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have data and you have facts and you can analyze that and realize you made a mistake. Whereas if it was any of the other friggin' High Lords, or at least the ones that we're trained not to like in the book, no matter how much evidence you get that you're wrong, you gotta double down and strengthen your position. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I did appreciate that Kubik was able to go like, yep, okay, no, we gotta work together.
And he's like, I'm sorry, secrecy is our default condition, which is funny. And it is revealed that the orcs are on Olenor.
Dun dun
But
dun.
dun dun dun. But Veritas, for some reason, gets it in his head that he should go to Cornland and say, "Hey, to fight a legend, you need a legend. I know where Vulcan is."
Like, you're just
So that
telling
was
us this
very interesting.
now?
Yeah, like, uh, I don't like this kind of narrative turn that the story took. It was just weird. And
Yeah, because
anyways,
I mean, I guess we'll cover it tonight. I want to say, but with how long Vulcan is in the story, it almost seems like I don't know, like a side quest.
we need to put 2 extra books in this series.
Yeah, a little bit.
So yeah, fighting, going to Caldera, which Vulcan has sworn an oath to in the past. I don't know if this book or this planet is in the Horus Heresy series,
Probably.
but he swore an oath that he would protect this planet from further destruction because he had to destroy the planet in the past. And this is the part where we get the flash sideways to Calcator and
Zerberun.
yeah, Zebrin, because Vulcan's like, I had to destroy this planet in the past, and I promise never to do that again. We can't just destroy planets. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, sometimes you just have to fight and have faith that you will win, and not just cleanse everything and walk away. Skip to Zebrin being really depressed about having killed a bunch of people, like millions of people. I'm really glad to see in this a kind of inner struggle with Calcator and Zebrin. This kind of thing where I have a feeling that Zebrin is leading to a very major downfall. But you can see how this heresy tends to be so insidious and come from hope.
Yeah,
Hope is so dangerous in 40K.
and
I'm loving seeing them like, well, maybe something can come from this. Maybe there's some absolution here. But there's not.
and
No, there isn't.
every situation, like, you look at the end product and you're like, how the hell did you get there? But then when you break it down into a series of the lesser of two evil choices, or there's only a shit decision to be made, so you had to make that decision. It becomes
Yeah.
much more understandable.
Mhm.
I like how they
Yeah.
took the time to break Zebran down like this, as opposed
Yeah.
to something else in the story that I did not quite like as much. So
Okay.
the
That
fact
happens later.
the fact that his decline is I think it's handled very well. It's kind of a
It's very
slow
believable.
build. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. It's slow build up, and you really see how it happens.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I really enjoyed about the hand of David Goime. How the two Davids here handled Calcator, and I hope to see. I'm looking forward to seeing how that pans out in future books. So, suffice to say, they save the planet. Yada yada yada. I apologize, but you have to read the book because it's all about the fight, and it's a pretty cool fight. It is actually pretty cool.
Oh yeah,
I loved
a big old action
how
scene.
I loved how they had the young admiral and the two captains. The two shipmasters spoke to each other privately, like, well, he's pretty untested. He's from he's from a noble house and he's young and he was fast tracked to the admiralty. He's probably not going to be worth a damn.
Yeah,
So be ready to step in when you have to.
You can just see them
And I
looking down their noses like new money.
New money, yeah. And David Annandale, to his credit, I love this part where he kind of makes this guy into the hero he should be, which is really cool. You don't always see that. Usually the young foppish noble is a total ass and screws everything up. This guy gets his arm broken, he's got a punctured lung, and he's awake on stims alone, and he leads that fleet to victory. And at the end, his ship is got a breached warp core, and he's like, so I guess we're flying into the planet, into the attack moon and exploding, right? And they're like, yeah, I guess that's what we're doing. All right, peace.
Let's do this.
Let's do this thing. So yeah, it was really cool. There was also a moment where Vulcan destroys a Gargant and it explodes behind him as he walks away.
Yeah, right.
So that was pretty cool.
Any of the scenes with Vulcan, it's like, oh my god, unstoppable giant monstrosity. You just see like the little figure like disappear inside of it, and there's a string of explosions going up, and then you see the little figure jump out of the head.
Oh, it was really cool. Yeah, I'm not saying that it was a bad book. I'm just saying there's not much to say about it. We would just sit here gushing about how awesome the fight scenes were.
Yeah, instead of making it a novel, it should have been like an hour-long like YouTube short movie.
Yeah, that would have been great. Have somebody do a flash movie of the book, and we'll just watch that in between book 6 and book 8. So book 8, Beast Must Die by Gav Thorpe. I like this a lot better than the other Gav Thorpe book. I thought this is probably my favorite book of the series so far.
It beginning this book, especially after finding Vulcan, if I didn't know that it were a year-long series, I would have said this was the conclusion.
Right, yes, exactly. And even though it has that weird Vulcan-y stuff going on, which again I thought was a little weird, I loved Gav Thorpe's storytelling in this very much. On par with the first David Annandale book in the series, which I also liked. Basically, the only one I haven't liked really has been the first one and the 7th one. So,
The first one was a bit slow.
Yeah, it was really slow.
Vulcan's part in this novel is kind of upsetting. Like,
mm-hmm.
you kind of get the feeling that maybe he's not the only one. Like, the Primarchs are just out there, but they wash their hands of the Imperium. Just the way that he talks.
Well, Vulcan almost feels suicidal in this book.
Yeah, he's a bit of a Debbie Downer, huh?
Yeah, and so we start off this book with Vangerich, and he's dreaming of how he's going to kill all these people. He really wants them all to die, and he's in the Senatorum, and he's with the Senatorum, but they're not in the big chapel. They're in this really depressing room that has all the Primarchs statues, and they're all kind of looking down on the Senate. And when Vulcan walks in, he cases the joint. He looks at Vankerich and tips him a little smile. I'm like, that is Vulcan knows who the most dangerous person in the room is.
Immediately recognize.
So that's pretty cool. Like I know Vankerich is a little put off by it, but that's got to feel good.
Well, it's like, I mean, even when Corlin first met him, it's like, you're the only person in this room that could kill me. Like, yep.
Yep, exactly. So Mesring tries to offer these Frateris to help with the war.
Oh, Frateris militia.
Yep, and Vulcan's like, their zealotry will not serve our cause. Bohemond gives him this look like, oh fudge. What do you mean by that? He kind of casts his gaze away, looking all guilty.
He's like, oh yeah, I'm used to fighting with soldiers, not fucking whack jobs.
Eckharth balks at the war, saying it's illegal and not in compliance. But Vulcan's like, I think you guys have to worry about the concept of compliance. And Eckharth is everybody's a little confused about that, but Vankerich helps him out. He's like,
interesting you chose that
these
word.
are the guys that used to put entire systems into compliance with a word, let alone 1,000 Space Marines in orbit. FYI, you guys should be just chill.
This dude could murder everything on this planet.
Yeah. And make a long story short, the orcs are definitely on Olinor. They get there. Olinor is interesting. It's got 3 super gas giants, which have been devouring planets for millions of years. So there's this giant kind of asteroid field full of asteroids, small moons, and comets on the outside. So you can't just translate from the warp in system. You mess yourself up. It's kind of a long trip from the Mandeville point to the world. So, people be knowing you coming, right? Several times through this, they come across a bunch of transports where they find humans that are all emaciated and stuff, and the humans are very happy to see them. A few other times, though, they come across ships that are run by humans who fight against them. So they destroy their ships. Again, very interesting.
Yeah, this goes back to the Imperium's general lack of value of human life. It's like, wait, what? You guys are... Oh, okay. Boom. No, like, trying to talk them out of it or trying to convince them that they're on the wrong side. Just, what? Explode.
Corlin wants Vulcan to lead the assault, and Vulcan's, like, annoyed. He's just, like, working on his hammer, building things. This is what he wants to do with his life. He just wants to retire and build things, people. This is what Vulcan wants with his life. And Vulcan tells Corlin to earn the title of Lord Commander and do his job. I thought that was freaking awesome.
Yeah, I kind of get the passing the torch thing, but it also kind of comes off like, yeah, no,
it's definitely dickish.
The Imperium is, on the brink of extinction. What? Is this when I need to be trained?
I forgot to mention Veritas. Later on in the previous book, Veritas has proved to be kind of right. When Corlin walks in and sees the other Space Marine chapter masters who he has summoned to help in the fight against Ulanor, they look at him like they look down on. He could tell immediately that they do not think much of him for summoning them there to him to do his bidding. And then Vulcan walks in and their expressions change completely. Like, oh, yeah, yes, Lord Commander. Whatever you say, Lord Commander.
Yeah, it's just that's the kind of thing that would tick you off if you were Corlin, though. Like, knowing that your authority, that they're only listening to you because Vulcan's standing behind you.
Yeah.
Be cracking some skulls.
Now that I hadn't put 2 and 2 together here, but perhaps that's Vulcan's point. Mm-hmm. In forcing Corlin to take to take the point here, because he has no intention of continuing with this war.
Yeah.
He has no intention of continuing in the Imperium after the beast is taken care of. And someone has to move forward with building the Imperium, or at least trying to safeguard it in the future. And if he were to take command at this point, I believe that would diminish Corlin's ability to do that in the future.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. So I think it kind of makes sense from that perspective. And later on, I think that's mirrored later on. Bohemond actually gets angry with the fact that Corlin's in charge. Like, things are going badly in the fight down on Ulanor, and he gets all pissed off. He's like, why is he leading us? You know, if it weren't for the fact that all of his brothers would be dead, he wouldn't even be a chapter master, let alone Lord Commander of the Imperium, right? And Vulcan puts his hammer down, and he says, why don't you, if you want to lead, take up my hammer and break down this barrier. Like, they were in front of this impassable set of doors, right? And Bohemond tries to pick up Vulcan's hammer, and he can't do it. And I think it was the Crimson Fists commander tries to pick it up, and he can't do it. And they're like, "Oh, it's a trick! And Vulcan says, "All right, why don't you give it a try, Calcator?" Or not
Calcator, yeah.
No, why don't you give it a try? And
he like takes his foot off the back plate of the hammer, and then he picks it up.
No, my brain hurts.
Corlin.
What the fuck is this guy's name? Corlin, thank you. Edit point. Sorry. So Corlin orders an assault squad to go over and pick up the hammer and throw it at the door. So 5 guys go over, pick up the hammer with relative ease compared to one person, and they throw it at the door and open it. And Vulcan's like, yeah, being a leader isn't all about being the best fighter. Great warriors follow the greatest leader. So I thought that was really cool. That was a really cool part. And I think that solidifies the point we just discussed about Vulcan is more interested in grooming a future leader than he is actually winning this battle. I'm a little ahead of myself. The war, it swings back and forth, right? Like, it's too easy, right? Like, the fight is going too well. And I think there's a point where they say, yeah, up to this point, everything has been a trap, and this is probably no different. This is probably a trap, but we really can't go anywhere else.
Yeah,
right?
you still get the people that are like, no, this time it's not. Every other time it was,
Bohemond.
but this time we're good.
Everyone is Bohemond.
That freaking guy.
Right? Oh my god, that freaking guy. He hauls off and just leaves. He's like, you know what? We're gonna attack now, and he gets in his Thunderhawks and drop pods, and he leaves.
And of course, anybody trying to be intelligent and like preach caution is a coward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, and that's where we see Bohemond doing like a blood ritual to like scry, like to decide what to do next. And during their drop, he actually closes his eyes, says a prayer to the Emperor, and basically like points at the map, points at a random location on the map and says, all right, we're dropping here. And it pisses me off that he drops right next to the city where the beast is.
See, it
makes me so mad.
It's this kind of shit that costs you your own codex.
Yeah.
Like you're going back to like the AAA league.
Yeah,
because you do shit
makes
like
me
this.
so mad. It makes me so mad. Like, why does he have to be right? You don't have to make him be right. He should have been wrong and died. No, he was right. He knew.
Just like landed in the ocean or something.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah,
but sir, that's a body of water. Like, shut up. It's the Emperor.
Land here. And it turns out, it turns out that the planet is Metroplex, or the city is Metroplex, and it starts transforming when they land there, and a bunch of people die. including
What was
the commanders, the Imperial commanders' awesome land like fortress tank thing.
was it
What were they called back in the day?
Omicron, I think was the.
Something Imperialis.
Oh yeah, the battle fortresses. Yeah, the ridiculous Imperial ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it doesn't even get to shoot. It doesn't even get to shoot a single shot, and it freaking it's destroyed in the first like 5 seconds of the fight, which is hilarious.
Yeah,
And it's
like,
not just it's.
It's funny
Go
earlier
ahead.
you mentioned like they had the scions to sell models. Like this was the how not to sell models part. Like, oh yeah, look at we got all these cool Mechanicum tech. Oh, they're all blown up. They didn't even do anything.
Yeah, and it's great because it's not like on the Orc Moon. It's actually they're actually like anti-space missile racks and lasers, and they start shooting airplanes out of the sky or shooting capital ships out of the sky like nobody's business, which I thought was really really interesting. And so they kind of regroup and they try to Capital Imperialis. That's what it was called. That's the class of tank, the Capital Imperialis. So they kind of regroup and they're like, well, I guess we have no choice but to keep attacking, and like they actually shoot the Mechanicus command ship out of the sky, which is in one shot. But I guess it was the gravity weapon. They made a big deal about how it was kind of hanging between falling and not falling. So, yeah, and the good thing about the Mechanicus spaceship is because it has our hero Laurentis on it.
Ooh.
Huzzah, Laurentis! Yes, the great Laurentis. Apparently, all the information about the orcs is stored in his brain. So he's very, very useful. I love the kind of back and forth between Delthrak, who is the kind of the commander of the mission, and Zukov, who is this overseer of the mission. Zukov is this tech Magos Dominus, and Zukov is kind of just like a regular Magos. And Zukov is this massive tech priest. Like all he is a brain. Like the only thing that's left of him is brain. And Zukov does not like, Dethrak does not like Laurentis at all. He thinks he's crazy. He questions his sanity. And Zukov is like, "What? No way! Have you not assimilated his recent treatise on the notional benefits of wrongness?" Like, that is so adorable.
Like how when he was talking about having a hunch, and they're like, what in the beginning, and now it's starting to like infect other mechanical people. It's like, wait, maybe he's got something here.
Yeah. Oh, it's the best. Yeah.
So you think you're right, but you have no data to back it up? How interesting.
Oh, I really love it. And Laurentis starts kind of thinking about like the possibility of coexistence with this orc because of how there's this order coming out of the chaos of the orcs. Like they're all about trying and failing until they get it right, which is the very essence of evolution. So he starts thinking, well, maybe there's something to this. We might even be able to parlay with these people. Which is totally never going to happen, but it's something he kind of mulls over. So I'm going through this and I'm wondering, they're talking about Bohemond is talking about how the teaching of Sigismund lead them to believe in the deification of the emperor. And it gets me to thinking that Sigismund is basically the St. Peter of 40K, where he's kind of taken the teachings of this well-spoken individual and turning it into this religion.
I don't know. that's kind of flattering. I would more go with he's the Lorgar of the Loyalists.
Got it. Right. So, I'm just think it's really interesting that there's this the Sigismund and this whole deity of the emperor actually seems to be working in this story where Bohemond actually is able to point out the location of
the beast when he saved Magneric from the Psyker. And
yep.
Yeah, you know,
and
for all the dumb crap the Black Templars are doing, their powers are working.
Yeah, and later Courland actually is shown a video of the Black Templars going up against a Psyker, an Orc Psyker, and the giving prayers to the Emperor, and the psychic blasts being repelled by their faith. And Vulcan's like, yeah, that's the right spot because that's the only spot he could be. That's the way the story is written. That's the only way the story could bend. And I'm like, wow, Gav Thorpe, thanks for the Deus Ex Machina and actually writing the Deus Ex Machina into the story.
Yeah, I think it's cool. It's cool how there's a reason. It's not just like he says it's how it should be, so that's the way it is. He explains that no, that's where the triumph ended. Of course, that's where he is. That's true. This is all about symbolism.
Yeah, and the orcs at this point have shown that symbolism is a part of their core, and we see that later in the approach to the orcs to the beast's lair. He's got all these banners and stuff from the previous conquests of Ulanor. And he's all about. I mean, for God's sake, his city is a giant gargant in the shape of him. It's a giant. Not only do we have all these effigies in the shape of gargants, but at the end of the book, the city transforms into a giant orc robot. Come on. Yeah. I guess you're absolutely right there. I guess we can't complain too much about that. So it's at this, throughout this book, I see some really great things. And one of my favorite parts in this whole book, it's probably my favorite part in the book, is Wire going through Orc Society. And it's a short chapter, and all it is Wire's observation of, and we're talking about Beast Cruel, his observation of Orc Society under the Beast in this advanced state of Orc Society. Orcs drunk off of some kind of squig juice wine or whatever. Gretchen trading with orcs, using teeth as currency. They're roasting meat. They're not, they have cooked food. They have uniformed guards taking bribes and clubbing people that bother them.
Just like how
cages,
how ridiculously human they are.
Yeah, they have cages where there were slaves that the Gretchen have taken up habitation in. Some trucks, oh my god, some of the trucks actually have orc rock bands on them. Remember that part?
I probably blanked it out from trauma.
Oh yeah, they're like trucks driving around with orcs with amplified string instruments and drums. So orc rock bands, goth rockers. There were legit goth rockers in this book. I love Gav Thorpe. They're Gretchen walking around with portable Voxcasters with music pouring out of them. Boomboxes. The Gretchen in this book have boomboxes. James, this book was amazing.
This is like a breakdance scene that I missed.
No! This is chapter 11 if you want to read it again. It is amazing. It's a short read. It's worth every minute. And this is where he starts seeing orc preachers gesticulating. They give out ammunition. Instead of giving alms to the poor, they give out ammunition to the orcs walking by.
I think there's some churches like that in Texas, aren't there?
Yeah, it might be. And they're playing board games. We actually see orcs playing a board game. This chapter is ridiculous.
This really drives home how alien they are under the Beast.
Yeah. Oh, I love this, and it's very reminiscent of old orcs in
the over the top silliness.
Yeah, the what do you call it? Gorka Morka orcs. These are very much Gorka Morka orcs. And Gorka Morka was written by Gav Thorpe. So there we go. So I don't know much else to say. Like, it's, you know, we've all read the book supposedly. The big fight. You know, we start seeing how important it is to thwart their psychers. One thing I did like about the Black Templars, there was one scene where they're fighting, and like this is after the city transforms into a giant robot. There are a bunch of floating orc fortresses. They're floating around in the air, and orcs start dropping from the sky, and Beaumont looks up and raises his hands in glee, saying, "It's raining orcs, brothers! It's raining orcs!" And they're all excited. I was like, you know what? That's great. I appreciate that.
You know,
Just the joy.
again, you know, how much more of an orc reaction could they have?
Yeah,
The Black Templars, like that's how an orc would react to that. That's not.
Now, another great section, there's another great little scene where Zukov, which is the Tech Priest Dominus, and Dor, D-O-R-R, the Imperial Commander, are kind of hanging out together. They've been fighting alongside each other. They're the commanders. You know, they have a great phalanx of defense. He's in his Bane Blade, and Zukov is just walking on his own because he's basically the size of a Bane Blade with two giant, like, laser cannons and stuff. He doesn't have to worry. He's a walking super heavy tank himself, so he doesn't really have to concern himself with that. But Dor starts to lament. He's like, "Oh my, I don't know how we're gonna win. You know, this is the end, but I'm gonna go down fighting, yada yada." And Zukov says, "You should have more faith in the Omnissiah, and the gifts that, you know, have more faith in his ability to you know, save us from these dangers." Zukov says, "Hey, well, take a look over here," and he says, "What have you done to the Praetor Fidelis? You mounted a starship cannon on the bastardized remains of my command vehicle."
It's like, it's a gun with wheels. What more do you want?
What do you want from me? He calls it the Ordinatus Olinor, and he basically took his command vehicle that got flipped over at the start of the fight and mounted a starship weapon on it from the crashed Mechanicus ship, and he's like, "What? This is what you do." Boom! He starts blowing up freaking Gargants left and right. And Dor says, "I'll light 100 votives to the Omnissiah myself."
I think it was funny too, because I want to say it was an interview with Gab Thorpe that I read where like he was talking about how in 30K they were able to create a lot of things, and it was always cool to see something that you wrote for your book become a model. So like I'm just waiting for Forest World like to pick this up hopefully and create the Ordinatus Olinor. Just like a gun the size of a Titan basically, and then just like these little like tank treads on the side of it.
It was the best. It was really the best.
The best part of this book for me was again the end. To take it back to Cruel. He said, "Why?"
Yeah.
Like he just finally makes it. And it's like there's nothing I can do here. Like what am I? And he actually says that he's scared. Like what am I doing?
Yeah.
Just kind of like sit down and have yourself a little cry.
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting part because you can't going through 8 books, you don't imagine Beast Cruel afraid of anything, and just he sees the huge array of orcs waiting to attack humanity inside the fortress, and everything, all of his like stimulants and all of his, you know, training just washes away in a wave of fear.
Despair.
Yeah. He's like, "We can't win. I need to leave." Yeah. And fortunately he does manage to warn the Imperium, but so it was his idea to destroy their food stores and starve them out. They might start eating each other like they had already started eating the Gretchen because they ran out of human slaves. So if they can just if they could just destroy all of the food stores, perhaps they can get beyond an even footing. Unfortunately, the Beast sees their attack plan and immediately counterattacks because he knows what they're trying to do. Like that in itself shows how dangerous the Beast is, because and well, I mean, at the end we have him actually having a cogent conversation with Vulcan as they fight. Right? He's like, and Vulcan says, if you'd only waited 10 more years, you would have conquered the galaxy. You're not the real threat. You're the distraction that will allow the true event to surge forth again, which we're talking about the heresy, right? And he says, you are right, son of the Emperor. Your empire is now on its knees, and we shall be its death. And like Vulcan throws his hammer at him, and he looks around and he says, just like your Emperor, you have thrown away your most powerful weapon. Like, this orc knows all about Imperial history. He speaks intelligently. Like, he is the most dangerous creature in the galaxy at this point. So I thought that was really interesting.
I love how they introduced him. It's like, oh, the statue is standing up? Wait, what?
Twice the size of Vulcan, twice as tall as Vulcan. So that means about 4 times the girth of Vulcan.
Jesus, it's so huge.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So yeah, that's basically where we left it. I think I just have one. I don't know about you. I have one more thing that I thought was interesting. I mean, clearly, in case you didn't read it and you want to know, Vulcan and the Beast fight. We don't really know the true fate of Vulcan. Obviously, they couldn't have left it any other way. But once Courland leaves planet and tries to message the Imperium, the only thing he gets back is on repeat over the broadcast, I am Slaughter, I am Slaughter, I am Slaughter. I don't know if that means the Beast was destroyed and they have some kind of contingency plan, or if the Beast survived and Vulcan's sacrifice was meaningless.
Trazyn must have snuck in and grabbed Vulcan real quick.
Yeah, Trazyn grabbed him real quick. But there's one other part of the book that I thought was great. Black Templars refuse to leave Vulcan to his own devices and to keep fighting. Instead, they're like, we can't retreat. Beaumont says, what are you, a coward? We're not retreating. We're fighting to the end. And Courland punches him in his stupid fucking face.
Oh, yes. Another one of the more satisfying moments in this series.
That was the best.
Wham!
Boom! If you want to die, stay here. If you want to serve the Emperor, follow me.
Any more insubordination?
And I think at that point, Courland's leadership role is sealed.
Yeah.
I really think that was. I think Gav wrote it that way on purpose, and I hope we can get Gav on to talk about it, because this was a really great book. I loved this book. I thought it was really good. I don't know. What did you do? You've read the last 4, right? Where do you think this book ranks? As far, I mean, I hate to rank the books, but I really did enjoy this one very much.
Yeah, it's definitely in the top couple of the whole series. And again, I could see a parallel universe where this was the last book. You could have easily written it that Vulcan, fight with the Emperor style, right? Like Vulcan cracked his armor and then was thrown into a gravity well and disappears, and then Courland was able to use the chink in the armor to destroy the Beast. And yeah, I could see that being the finish of the entire series. The book was well structured and had lots of good combat and everything, but also the advancement of the story with the way Vulcan was kind of training Courland and how it comes together in the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe a little more wrap up at the end, maybe a couple chapters of wrap up or whatever. I mean, we still have to get to the big event of this era, right?
Yeah.
Which we know is coming.
Can we just not do that book? Have you read it yet? You haven't gotten there yet, have you?
No.
Okay.
I know. I mean, we've talked about the event that this is clearly leading up to, which we've talked about that event before in previous. I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't read ahead, though.
In my official headcanon, that book doesn't exist.
Oh, really? Oh, well, I mean,
Not that it was
it's the
bad,
best. It's
just-
the best character. It's the best character in the series, right?
Yeah,
So that's a problem. It's a
Yeah.
problem for us, and we have to internalize.
something like that.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening to this long episode. James, do you have anything to add before we close out the show?
No. Well, that's pretty much
No.
all from my end.
Yeah, that's it for me too. I'll spare you the usual pleasantries of our outro, considering the fact that I'm going to edit this and I'm a special boy.
Got quite a bit of work,
And,
so.
yeah, nah, it's all right. I'll just do a half-ass job, and you'll all wish that you had Jason here to guide you through.
He's our savior.
All right, guys. Talk to you later.
This podcast is protected by the Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives, Non-Commercial International License. More information about this license and contact information if you have any requests can be found at our blog, mastersoftheforge.com.
It's such a good feeling to play games your way. It's such a happy feeling 40K'ing away. And when you throw dice with story in mind, it's such a wonderful way to unwind. It's a good feeling, a very good feeling, the feeling you know that we'll be back when the fortnight's new, and we'll have new ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. We will too.